In this video, we're going to take a look at the TD tool in Thinking Particles 3. The TD tool is a great way for us as TP users to be able to create a particle system that we can hand off to artists and other users that they can use without having to require that they know TP. Basically, we're going to do something like the way Max gives us the spray particle system. We create a helper emitter node out in the scene, and then we get a roll-up with a bunch of different parameters available. We're going to go ahead and delete this, and we're going to start off really simple. We're going to just create a single dynamic set. We'll call this TD tool, and our dynamic set is going to have some parameters available to it. This is where we're going to specify the type of helper emitter that we're going to use. Now you see we're on the dynamic set, our emitter. We have all these options here. We have to pick one of these in order to create a TD tool, even if you're not going to use it. In our case, we're going to go ahead and use it. We're going to use a circle. You can see that now it creates a bunch of different type of inputs here. Also creates these inputs here into the roll-up section. And the roll-up section is where we're going to create the rollouts and add the parameters that the user can modify. Right now, we have a none section, meaning that none of these parameters are exposed to the user. The fastest way we can get up and going is go ahead and create a born generator. We're also going to need a node helper. The reason we need a node helper is because you remember that we're creating a circle emitter node. Our users are going to create a circle emitter node, and that emitter node is going to have some information available about it, because they're going to be able to create it anywhere out in the scene here. We're going to want to be able to access that emitter node and find out things like his position, and as well as alignment, spin, speed, etc. So really this node, you don't have to pick anything, it just acts as a pass-through. It gets information about the helper emitter that the user creates, that emitter node, and then the node's going to get information about it. We're also going to need a position helper called standard emitter. Standard emitter is made specifically for the TD tool. You can see his type right now is set to circle, but what we're going to do is go ahead and take that type and pull from this emitter type here. So it's going to override this value, and it's going to use whatever's set in the emitter of this dynamic set. We're going to go ahead and access that emitter node, take its position, and tell the standard emitter where that emitter is. Standard emitter is not the actual emitter. It basically is just going to take information about that emitter and modify or send out information that we're going to use to modify the particles. Let's go ahead and hook up the X, Y, and Z size. And let's see, we also might as well get the alignment, and then of course the standard emitter is going to want to know about the particles in order to modify them. Now the one thing that we do want to do is we want to modify those particles' position using that emitter. The way we're going to do that, we're just going to go ahead and grab a particle data helper, drop that out here. We're going to modify those particles. We'll expose the position input, take the position and connect it to the world position. Okay. The one last thing that we want to do is we want to take our born generator and set it to be a rate type. And then what we want to do is we want to expose that rate and then drag that rate up here so that it creates a new input for us. Now remember, all these inputs that show up here when we select the dynamic set are available here under the roll-up section. Now right now we have no roll-ups. We just have one called none, which means there are none. We want to actually add a roll-up so our user can modify that rate. We're going to go ahead and click Add Roll. This is going to create a roll-up called Parameter. Let's go ahead and click this, give it a long click, and we'll just call it Simple System. And we're going to go ahead and drag and drop that rate onto the simple system, and it's going to make him a child of it. Okay, if we select TP right now, and we come over here to the command panel, we can see that we now have a roll-up called Simple System, and it's got a rate with a spinner available to us. That's something we should mention on the dynamic set. On the rate, we've got from and to values, whether or not it's a percent, and whether or not we're going to use a spinner or a slider. Each of the different parameters that you can click on here is going to give you different types of controls available. Okay.